This is just a little glimpse of what Houston is all about and how big our heart is. These are volunteers at the Houston Area Food Bank. They've experienced a record number of volunteers, but then again, there's been a record level of need for just putting food on the table as well. One of the ways you can help out and perhaps be part of your therapy is to help somewhere in the community. Welcome back. We're with Melinda Havard with Second Baptist Counseling Center, Dr. Ben Young, a pastor at Second Baptist Church, and then Robert Hilliker with the Lovett Center. We're answering your questions about how to get through this kind of new normal that you have, if it can ever be called normal. All right, Gina says, I have a friend staying with us, but they are messy. How do I ask them to help clean up without being insensitive? So again, when you have people forced into close quarters into your personal space, you want to help, but then it doesn't take long for things like this to kind of creep up.
Ask honestly and start softly.
I love
Speak
to start
honestly,
softly.
start softly.
Are those your underwear over there? I'm just wondering, right?
Yeah, but tell them everything has a place here. So let him help you, show you where this goes and where that goes.
Yeah.
And just be very, honest and
I think
upfront.
sometimes the hard part is when you feel like you've been victimized in that situation, your mindset kind of changes a little bit where you step back and say, okay, I'm going to receive right now because I've been through too much, right? And so you got to be aware of and be sensitive too about being in someone else's home who is extending that help.
Yeah, I think it's not unreasonable to ask for what you need, especially because the support sounds like it's going to be ongoing for some time. So, asking for what you need, even as a caregiver, is okay. It's okay to do. And when someone's in your personal space, it's important that you advocate for your needs, because if she's depleted by that person being there, then her capacity to show up for that person is going to be limited.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, it's just a matter of time and natural human behavior where that resentment starts to build up. It's going to come out sideways, or some way it's going to come out, right? And then that becomes something that could be irreparable at some point. Sure. All right, Kathy, we made a good living and our home cost more than the average, but we lost everything. Friends keep telling us we're better off than others, but how do we tell them they're not helping? And that's what really was kind of crazy right now. It wasn't just someone who may have been poor. Harvey was an equal opportunity destroyer, if you will. People in the middle class who may have been living paycheck to paycheck as well, but when they lost it all, they're behind the eight ball. They don't have anything. And I think people are meaning to help when they say, well, honey, look at the bright side. At least y'all are still together and happy and healthy. But you gotta be careful what you say to some folks.
So that's almost a way to pour on more guilt. Yeah. Someone already feels guilty for having those feelings because they watch TV as well and they see people they care about as well that have less than them. And yet the reality is it's a grief for everyone. And different facets of grief, it hits us the same. And we all have the same type of heart. It hits our hearts in the same way.
Yeah. Is it easier to just basically say, what can I do to help?
Yeah, it is. And know this too. People say stupid things to other people. They really do. So you're not alone in receiving just ridiculous comments like that. But yeah, you're right, Deborah. The best thing to do is to say, how can I help you? And not try to fix a problem or not try to minimize someone's their loss. It's a great loss.
Yeah. Because that is what we have a tendency to do is go, well, look at the bright side, but you're still not doing as bad as others. Maybe you still have a job or you still have this, and so it kind of minimizes what's happened.
Right, and I think validate and empathize first. Looking at the bright side, there's plenty of time to kind of look forward, but right now it's about being with that person where they are.
Yeah.
That's the most supportive element. Is be with them where they are. If they've lost everything, they may not be interested yet in hearing about rebuilding and what's to come. They're in a process of grief, and so just trying to be respectful of that. And you're right, water doesn't care what kind of money you made. Water, flooding doesn't. It's an equal opportunity offender, right? And so it didn't matter if you we saw this. It didn't matter if you lived in poorer communities in this city or if you lived in River Oaks. You were impacted by this storm, and I think that's that great equalizer can bring people together.
Yeah.
And parts of our community that normally wouldn't mix have an opportunity to intersect, I think, in powerful and important ways.
Yeah, and that was one of the wonderful things that we saw with this, is that people did come together with no questions asked. No, we don't care what your religion is. We don't care what your socioeconomic background is. All right, Christy says, my friend lost everything in the flood. I've helped so much, but I have to get back to my life. I feel bad. What do I do?
Go back to life. That's part of help. That's part of getting better. That's part of moving forward. Go back to life.
So you say go back to life and
without
the guilt.
I
right?
agree with that. And I think, too, the people who if I were in that situation, I want people to go back to their lives, whether they lost something or didn't.
Yeah.
And again, we have to go back to some semblance of normal. So also I think that maybe kind of help modeling moving forward for the people who are still stuck.
And I know what we did amongst our group of friends is we all got together and we kind of figured out, what can you do? It's like, oh, I'll go wreck out walls. What can you do? I'll bring food. What can you do? I'm gonna bring games for the kids, or I'll take the kids to a movie. So if you have a circle of friends, maybe you can share the burden, if you will. And I say burden, it's one that many of us would take on, no questions asked, for our friends and family, right? But it can cause some issues that we've been seeing here in some of the questions. All right, I'm gonna end with Nicole, who says, everyone keeps telling me to take time for myself so I don't stress about my home, but I have nowhere to go and relax. I'm losing it. All right, this is a mental health issue right here.
No, I mean, that's an important point. I mean, take time for yourself. Well, where would I do that? If my home was a sanctuary to me, and that's where I spent time to connect. So I think it's getting creative and looking for new opportunities to connect in other places, in other areas where you can de-stress. And I don't know what that looks like. If for that particular person, for each person may be a little bit different. It might be going and getting a massage regularly. It might be, going and getting your nails done or your hair done or doing something nice for yourself like that. Could
or even
be a
volunteering. As we
possibility.
talked about how doing something good for someone else is almost
Of
like
course.
a way to kind of offload that stress and anxiety.
Yeah,
All
service
right.
is a wonderful way to do that too.
We'll be right back.